Far more than we're inclined to accept and sometimes even realize, we are creatures of mood. That is, our sense of our value as human beings is prone to extraordinary fluctuation. At times, we know how to tolerate ourselves. The future seems benevolent. We can bear who we are in the eyes of others, and we can forgive ourselves for the desperate errors of the past. And then, at other points, the mood dips, and we lament most of what we've ever done. We see ourselves as natural targets for contempt. We feel undeserving, guilty, weak, and headed for retribution and disaster. But it can be very hard to grasp what causes our moods to shift. A day that started with energy and hope can, by lunchtime, end up mired in self-hatred and tearfulness. A sure sense that we've finally turned the corner and are on the way to better things can be replaced at speed by an alternative certainty that we are a cosmic error. We cannot, it appears, ever prevent our moods from being subject to change. But what is open to us all is to learn how to manage the change more effectively, so that our downturns can be ever so slightly more gentle, our sadness more containable, and our inconstancy less shameful in our eyes. Here is some of what we might learn to bear in mind around our capricious moods. Firstly, realize our vulnerability. We should acknowledge how vulnerable our moods are to being perturbed by so-called small things. We belong to a species of extreme but also fateful sensitivity. We shouldn't expect to be able to appreciate a Mozart aria or a Rembrandt self-portrait on the one hand, and then, on the other, stay unbothered by the downturned corners of the mouth of a lover or the slightly distant gaze of a would-be client. We shouldn't berate ourselves for how thin our skin is. We should adjust ourselves to the full consequences of our extraordinary openness to experience. Unless we take vigorous measures to edit our social lives, we can too easily find ourselves in the company of people who, though they may call themselves our friends, are, in terms of what they do to our moods, no such thing. Beneath a veneer of kindness, these people are the bearers of latent hostility, a deadly competitiveness, self-absorbed hysteria, or priggish moralism. To start to be a friend to ourselves means learning to take a scalpel to our address list in order to edit out all the dispiriting impostors. The one great solace for a low mood is the right sort of company. People who know how to reassure us that we still belong, that sadness is to be expected, and that our errors never put us beyond compassion. These consoling souls will have suffered, they will have hated themselves, and they will have learned how to laugh at the absurdity of being human. Most importantly, when we show them our low mood, they will know how gracefully to take that most essential next step of friendship, accept our flaws and display one or two of their own. Maddeningly, some of why our moods shift is that we inhabit a body. But because it's so humiliating to have to accept that our ideas about ourselves and our lives might be dependent on bodily factors, like how long we slept, how much water we've drunk, what viruses we might be fighting in the background, the temptation can be to insist that our ideas must solely be the offspring of reason. But it would be wiser to interpret that most of what passes through our minds is in some way dependent on particular things going on in our bodies. At points, it isn't that it's all over and that we're the worst person on earth. It's just that we may need to lie down for an hour or urgently have a glass of orange juice. Moods are proud, imperious things. They show up and insist that they're telling us total certainties about our identities and our prospects. Perhaps that our love lives will never work out, or that a professional situation is beyond repair. But we always have an option of calling their bluff, of realizing that they are only a passing state of mind, arrogantly pretending to be the whole of us, and that we could, with courage, politely ignore them and change the subject. We might recognize, but not give way to the mood, and put a bit of distance between it and our conscious selves. We might at times even do precisely what a mood commands us not to do, like see someone rather than cede to shame, or show our face rather than give way to paranoia, or go out for a walk rather than fold our limbs into a fetal position. While we're being rocked by a dark mood, we should strive to keep a little light on, the light of sanity and self-kindness that can tell us, even though a hurricane is insisting otherwise, that we are not appalling, that we have done nothing unforgivable, and that we have a right to be. We can strive to keep ourselves plugged in to a small pilot light of kindness until a larger sun is ready to rise once more. Not only do difficult moods insist that they are correct, they also seek to convince us that they are permanent. But our sense of self is naturally viscous. We are condemned to rise and then fall, to flow and then ebb. We are, as a reality and as a metaphor, largely made of water. So we shouldn't allow a misplaced ideal of permanence to add to our sorrows. Though we may be unable to shift a mood, we can at least realize that it is only ever such a thing, and that, in the inestimable words of the prophets, with the help of a few hours or days, it too shall pass.